well, he was a man and he slept with a lot, and that's, probably true.
More than you think, and if it ever gets out, I don't know what I'm going to do. They're just kids, darling.
Someone named Chewy Thompson from Linda and Elvis, but he does not want to be known to the public as Elvis's grandson. He just wants to be left alone. In the easiest terms to put it, he said he don't want to live in the shadow of the greatest entertainer of all time. He just wants to somehow be a good influence for the world.
Chewy Thompson's life was one that captured the hearts of many. Known for his intriguing connection to the legendary Elvis Presley, Chewy's journey unfolded in the public eye, captivating millions. From his early days to his rise on social media, his story was one of mystery, fame, and the pursuit of identity. As a man who was Elvis's grandson, he not only garnered attention for his lineage, but also for his unique personality and engaging online presence. When the news of his passing spread, it left a deep void among fans, sparking an outpouring of tributes and emotional reflections. This tribute aims to celebrate Chewy's life, his undeniable influence, and the profound impact he had on those who followed his journey. As we reflect on his legacy, we remember not just the claims and controversies, but the person he was and the legacy he leaves behind. Chewy Thompson's early years were marked by a family dynamic that would play a significant role in shaping his life and the person he became. Born into a world of intrigue, Chewy's upbringing was far from ordinary. Raised in a family where the extraordinary was often intertwined with the mundane, he was no stranger to the idea of living a life that would be scrutinized by the public. His family environment provided a foundation of love, support, and a unique sense of identity. As a child, Chewy was raised with values that emphasized the importance of family, and this would remain a constant throughout his life. However, what truly set Chewy apart from others was the claim that he was the grandson of one of the most iconic figures in American history, Elvis Presley. This assertion, though controversial, became central to his identity and the public's fascination with him. Over the years, Chewy never spoke about his connection to the Presley family, leading many to question the legitimacy of the world's claim and the motivations behind it. He never once mentioned it before his passing. The media, as expected, latched onto this story, amplifying it to national attention. The public's reaction was mixed. Some believed it, while others remained skeptical. Regardless, the grandson's reasoning added a layer of mystery and intrigue to Chewy's persona that few could ignore. As Chewy grew older, his connection to Elvis Presley continued to define his narrative. He often spoke about his experiences and the emotional weight that came with such a claim. For some, it was a fascinating connection to one of the greatest legends in music history. For others, it was a story that felt too fantastical to be true. In interviews, Chewy often reflected on how this identity shaped his journey, both personally and publicly. He was constantly confronted by questions surrounding his heritage, and this was something that he navigated with a sense of pride, despite the controversy it sometimes caused. In addition to the emotional toll of such a claim, there were also logistical hurdles that Chewy had to face. His relationship with the Presley family was never fully confirmed, leaving many to speculate about the truth. Despite this, Chewy's story resonated with countless fans who saw him as a link to the king of rock and roll. This perception was bolstered by Chewy's own efforts to share his story through social media and interviews, where he consistently spoke about his connection to Elvis with passion and conviction. While questions remained about the authenticity of the claim, there was no denying the impact it had on his life. For Chewy, the claim was both a gift and a burden. It brought him fame, but it also brought constant scrutiny. People were fascinated not just by his lineage, but by the personality that he brought to the table. His life was lived in the shadow of this claim, but Chewy seemed determined to forge his own path, refusing to be merely defined by his connection to Elvis. This struggle to carve out his own identity amidst the legacy of the Presley name is what made Chewy Thompson's life all the more compelling. Ultimately, whether or not the claim was true, it added a layer of complexity to Chewy's character. It shaped how the world saw him and how he saw himself. It was a claim that both defined him and challenged him to rise above the expectations of others. For many, Chewy Thompson's connection to Elvis Presley became a symbol of the desire to be more than just a name, a lineage, or a claim to fame. It was about living authentically, embracing what makes us unique, and, most importantly, remaining true to oneself despite the pressures of the world. Chewy Thompson's rise to public attention came largely through the power of social media, where he carved out a unique space for himself among millions of voices. Platforms like TikTok and Instagram became his stage, where he shared stories, reflections, and personal insights that resonated with people worldwide. His connection to Elvis Presley, whether true or not, became a focal point of his content, and it was here, in the digital realm, that Chewy truly began to establish his public persona. On TikTok, Chewy quickly gained a following, thanks to his engaging personality and the captivating stories he shared about his alleged family ties to the king of rock and roll. His content was raw, unfiltered, and personal, allowing followers a glimpse into his life and thoughts. The platform's algorithm helped Chewy's videos reach a wider audience, where his mix of humor, authenticity, and intrigue sparked conversations. His unique take on being connected to Elvis Presley captured the imagination of viewers, prompting a blend of admiration and curiosity. People were drawn not only to his claim of lineage, but also to the way he embraced his individuality, offering a fresh perspective on a narrative that many found hard to resist. Instagram, too, played a pivotal role in Chewy's rise. Through posts, stories, and IGTV videos, Chewy was able to expand on his life and experiences, often sharing behind-the-scenes moments and intimate reflections about his journey. The platform allowed him to engage directly with his audience, building a community that was both supportive and curious about his story. Chewy's Instagram was a blend of personal moments and public statements, with photos that captured his experiences and videos where he spoke candidly about his heritage and the weight of living under the shadow of a legendary name. For his followers, these posts created a sense of connection and authenticity, giving them the impression of knowing Chewy beyond just the stories he told. Through his social media presence, Chewy was able to introduce himself to a broader audience who found his unique story compelling and worth following. He became more than just someone with a famous claim. He became a personality in his own right. His posts invited people into his world, showing them the person behind the stories. Whether it was sharing a moment of reflection or responding to the many questions and comments from his growing fan base, Chewy's social media presence allowed him to carve out a space where he was not just seen as Elvis Presley's alleged grandson, but as an individual with his own voice and story to tell. But it wasn't just his social media presence that captured the public's attention. Chewy also made notable public appearances that helped solidify his place in the spotlight. These events were opportunities for him to speak directly about his heritage, his connection to Elvis Presley, and the impact of living with such a claim. In interviews, Chewy was often candid, revealing his thoughts on the pressure of living up to such a legacy and the challenges of maintaining his identity while being constantly linked to a figure as iconic as Elvis. He discussed how his life had been shaped by this connection, reflecting on the ways it had both defined and constrained him. During these appearances, Chewy had the chance to explain his journey and the emotional complexities tied to being associated with Elvis Presley. The media and the public found his vulnerability in these interviews both refreshing and relatable. Chewy wasn't just someone trying to capitalize on a famous name. He was a person grappling with the weight of expectations and the need to assert his own identity. These public moments gave Chewy the platform to present his side of the story and helped create a deeper connection with the audience. Through both his social media presence and public appearances, Chewy Thompson went from being a name associated with a famous family to a well-known figure in his own right. His rise to public attention wasn't just about the claim of being Elvis Presley's grandson, it was about the way he shared his life, his struggles, and his authenticity with a world eager to hear his story. As his audience grew, Chewy became a symbol of someone striving to find their place in the world, living under the shadow of a legend, yet determined to create a legacy of their own. The news of Chewy Thompson's passing arrived as a shock to the world. In the age of social media, news spreads quickly, but the initial reports about Chewy's death left many in disbelief. The first posts began circulating on platforms like Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, some bearing the heartbreaking announcement, while others were filled with questions and confusion. Fans, friends, and even casual observers were taken aback. Many of Chewy's followers had seen him only days or weeks prior, interacting with them in the same charismatic and engaging way he had throughout his rise to fame. The idea of losing someone who had been such a constant presence in the digital space was almost surreal. As the initial shock set in, it became clear that this was no ordinary loss. Chewy had made an impact on so many lives, and his sudden passing left a void that was deeply felt. Social media became a space for people to process their grief and confusion, but it also became a hub for misinformation. As is often the case with high-profile events, rumors began to swirl. Some posts speculated on the cause of his death, while others questioned the truth of the reports, wondering if it was all some kind of hoax or miscommunication. The speculation only added to the confusion. Fans were left to navigate a sea of conflicting stories, with some wondering if it was even possible for someone who had been so full of life to simply be gone. As the news spread, tributes and condolences began flooding in from all corners of the internet. On platforms like Instagram, heartfelt messages poured in from his followers, many sharing personal stories of how Chewy had touched their lives. Some fans spoke about how his videos had brought them comfort during tough times, while others shared how they had been inspired by his journey and his unique perspective on life. For many, Chewy wasn't just a social media influencer. He was a friend, someone whose posts made them feel seen and understood. The tributes were a testament to the profound impact Chewy had made, not just as a personality, but as someone who genuinely connected with his audience. His authenticity, his humor, and his openness had won him a loyal following, and his passing left a deep, emotional void that couldn't be filled. Friends and family, too, expressed their grief, with many sharing intimate messages about their relationship with Chewy. Some spoke of the laughter and light he had brought into their lives, while others reflected on the challenges he had faced and the strength he had shown. Chewy's legacy was being built not only by his fans, but by those closest to him, who understood the complexities of his life beyond the public persona. His family, in particular, became a focal point for those who wanted to understand the man behind the legend. Amid the outpouring of emotions, however, it was important to clarify the facts. As the tributes continued to pour in, so did the need for accurate information. It became crucial to separate the rumors from the truth. In the days following the announcement of his death, credible sources began to provide more details, confirming that Chewy had, in fact, passed away. His family and representatives issued statements to address the confusion, assuring the public that the reports were true and that Chewy's death was not a hoax. These statements helped to ease some of the uncertainty, but the emotional impact remained. For many, the sadness was compounded by the questions left unanswered, as details surrounding the cause of his death remained scarce. Despite the rumors and speculation, one thing remained clear. Chewy's death had left a profound mark on those who followed him. His influence, whether through his connection to Elvis Presley or simply through his online presence, had made a lasting impact. His fans, who had come to know him through his videos, posts, and interactions, were left with memories of a person who had been unapologetically himself. As more information emerged, the public came to accept the reality of his passing. The void left by Chewy's death was undeniable, but his legacy, built on authenticity and connection, would live on. In a world where online personas often feel fleeting, Chewy Thompson's influence was a reminder that a genuine presence, no matter how brief, can leave a lasting impression. The news of Chewy Thompson's sudden passing shocked the world, sending waves of disbelief through his fan base and the public. It all began with a few posts on social media platforms like Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, where the initial reports about his death started to surface. At first, many were in shock, struggling to accept the reality of the situation. Chewy had been so present, so connected with his followers, that the idea of him no longer being here seemed almost impossible. His followers had watched him share moments of his life, offering glimpses into his world, and now this sudden loss felt incomprehensible. As the news spread, confusion began to swirl, with fans expressing uncertainty over the validity of the reports. Some posts were filled with grief, while others were peppered with questions. Was it true? Was this some kind of hoax? The emotional weight of the news began to stir a variety of reactions, not only from his followers, but from media outlets and public figures who had followed Chewy's journey. His fans, accustomed to seeing him daily on their screens, were grappling with the loss of someone they had come to know as a familiar presence in their digital lives. As they scrolled through the posts, trying to understand what had happened, the sense of disbelief grew. In the midst of this confusion, rumors began to circulate. Some speculated about the cause of his death, while others doubted the authenticity of the reports. Questions began to flood the comment sections of Chewy's social media pages. Was it an accident, a natural cause, or something more sinister? With each new post, the uncertainty mounted. Speculation ran wild, and without concrete information, the public struggled to find clarity. His family, friends, and those who had known Chewy personally were left to cope with not only their grief, but also the constant barrage of rumors that overshadowed the truth. As time passed, tributes to Chewy began pouring in from all corners of the internet. His fans, friends, and acquaintances began to share their thoughts, memories, and condolences, commemorating the influence Chewy had on their lives. On Instagram, heartfelt messages flooded his last posts, with many sharing how much he had meant to them. Fans spoke about how Chewy's unique connection to Elvis Presley had fascinated them. But more than that, they shared stories of how his authenticity and openness had inspired them. Some mentioned how Chewy's videos had provided them with comfort during difficult moments, while others highlighted the way he had brought joy through his humor and personal stories. It became clear that Chewy wasn't just a figure in the digital space. He had made a real, lasting impact on those who followed him. One recurring theme in the tributes was Chewy's genuine connection to his audience. His fans spoke about how he made them feel seen and heard, offering a sense of camaraderie and understanding. The outpouring of messages from fans was accompanied by posts from those closest to him. Friends who described the warmth he brought into their lives, and family members who shared personal reflections about his character. It was evident that Chewy had left a mark on the hearts of many, not just as a social media personality, but as a person who genuinely cared about the community he built. He was more than a figurehead or a celebrity. He was someone people felt a personal connection with, and that connection extended far beyond the confines of social media. At the same time, his death sparked a deeper reflection on the impact of social media and the complex relationship between influencers and their followers. Chewy's life had been lived in the spotlight, yet he had always managed to maintain a sense of authenticity that resonated with people. As tributes and messages of support filled the feeds, it became clear that Chewy's reach was far greater than anyone had anticipated. From fans in small towns to people across the globe, Chewy's passing left a significant void. As the days passed, the need for clarity grew. Amidst the swelling wave of tributes and the ongoing speculation, his family and representatives felt compelled to address the confusion surrounding his death. Official statements were issued, confirming that Chewy had indeed passed away. In these statements, Chewy's family expressed their sorrow and grief, but also emphasized that, despite the pain of losing him, they were grateful for the love and support from his fans. The statements also aimed to clarify some of the rumors and misinformation that had spread during the initial wave of confusion. While the details surrounding his passing remained private, it was made clear that his death was not a hoax, and those who had followed his journey could take solace in knowing that Chewy had touched the lives of so many. The media played a pivotal role in helping to clear up the confusion. As news outlets picked up the story, they began to report more accurately on the circumstances surrounding his death. Interviews with close friends and family helped to shed light on the emotional toll of losing someone so young, and the media coverage shifted from sensationalism to reflection, focusing on Chewy's life and the legacy he had left behind. Slowly, the confusion that had once dominated the conversation was replaced by a more thoughtful and respectful remembrance of the person Chewy was. Ultimately, the public's reaction to Chewy's death was a mixture of shock, grief, and, for some, confusion. But through it all, the overwhelming sense of loss was undeniable. Chewy's passing marked the end of an era for many of his fans, but his legacy lived on through the messages, memories, and tributes that continued to flood social media. In the face of rumors and misinformation, Chewy's life was remembered for the impact he had made, the joy he had brought to countless people, and the connection he had built with his audience. As his story continued to unfold in the hearts of those who knew him, Chewy Thompson's legacy became not just about the mystery of his death, but about the profound influence he had on the world around him. Chewy Thompson's journey left a profound impact on his fans, many of whom felt deeply connected to him. Through his social media presence, Chewy had created a community that went beyond simple online interactions. He fostered a sense of belonging. His authenticity, openness, and vulnerability in sharing his story resonated with countless individuals who saw parts of themselves in his journey. From his discussions about his alleged connection to Elvis Presley to his personal reflections on navigating life in the public eye, Chewy's followers were drawn to his ability to stay true to himself, despite the pressures and expectations placed upon him. One common theme in the testimonials from his fans was how Chewy's openness about his struggles and his identity had provided them with comfort and encouragement. Many shared how Chewy's content had helped them through difficult times, offering a sense of hope or a reminder that they were not alone in their challenges. Some fans spoke about how they had followed Chewy for years, finding solace in his genuine portrayal of both the highs and lows of life. His journey wasn't just about the fame associated with his claim of being Elvis Presley's grandson. It was about the personal growth, the lessons learned, and the pursuit of self-understanding. His story reminded people that the path to self-discovery wasn't always easy, but it was worth walking. The emotional connection Chewy had with his followers went beyond his claim to fame. Many expressed that it wasn't just his alleged connection to Elvis Presley that inspired them, it was his individuality and courage in embracing his unique place in the world. Chewy's ability to take something as big and as historically significant as the Presley name and turn it into a story about personal identity and resilience was inspiring. His followers, from various walks of life, felt they could relate to his search for truth and authenticity. In a world where many feel pressured to conform to societal expectations, Chewy's unapologetic approach to his identity became a source of strength for many. Chewy's social media presence wasn't just about entertaining his followers. It was about forming meaningful relationships with them. His followers felt like they were on a journey with him, watching him evolve and grow, both personally and publicly. Many expressed that Chewy made them feel seen, heard, and understood. His videos, posts, and stories provided more than just entertainment. They offered a sense of connection, a reminder that no one was truly alone, even in the vastness of the digital world. When news of Chewy's death broke, the media, both mainstream and social, immediately turned their attention to his life and legacy. Mainstream media outlets quickly picked up on his passing, with some focusing on his connection to Elvis Presley, while others centered on his life as a digital personality. His claim of being Elvis's grandson was undoubtedly a major part of the coverage, as it had been a defining aspect of his public persona. Journalists and media outlets discussed his rise to fame, the mystery surrounding his heritage, and how he had captured the public's attention through his social media presence. Chewy's life was treated as a fascinating blend of celebrity, family history, and personal journey, and the media was eager to delve into all aspects of his story. On social media, the reactions were just as widespread, with countless tributes flooding platforms like Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Many fans shared their personal stories of how Chewy had impacted their lives, offering a sense of closure as they reflected on the moments they had shared with him online. His death sparked a collective conversation about fame, legacy, and the complexities of identity, especially when it comes to the intersection of personal truth and public perception. Media outlets and influencers alike shared their thoughts, with some offering deeper reflections on the way Chewy had navigated his public persona and how his journey had resonated with people across the globe. Chewy's passing also sparked ongoing discussions about the implications of his claims, particularly his assertion of being Elvis Presley's grandson. While some continued to debate the legitimacy of this claim, others shifted the conversation to a broader discussion about the nature of identity and the search for personal truth. Chewy had built a following not just because of his connection to Elvis Presley, but because of his willingness to share his journey of self-discovery with the world. This transparency about his own identity struggles led to reflections on how we all search for meaning, understanding, and connection in a world that often demands conformity. His life and death raised important questions about the nature of fame and the expectations placed on individuals in the public eye. Many found themselves pondering how Chewy had balanced the weight of a public persona with the desire to remain authentic to himself. Was it the allure of his connection to Elvis Presley that captured people's attention? Or was it his unique personality and the story of his life that truly resonated? In many ways, Chewy's legacy transcended the question of his family heritage. It was about how he made people feel and the connections he built along the way. The conversations surrounding Chewy's legacy didn't just stop at his passing. As the media continued to cover his story, discussions about his impact grew more profound. Fans, friends, and the public at large were left to reflect on the lessons learned from his life. Chewy had shown that it was possible to be true to oneself, to embrace the complexities of one's identity and to find peace within one's journey, even when the road was filled with uncertainty and scrutiny. The ongoing discussions about Chewy's legacy weren't just about the facts of his life or the rumors surrounding his death. They were about the deeper reflections on who we are as individuals, what it means to live authentically, and how we can all leave a lasting impact, just as Chewy did through his connection with so many people. Chewy Thompson's life was a unique journey marked by mystery, authenticity, and connection. His claim of being linked to Elvis Presley captured the public's imagination, but it was his genuine presence and ability to connect with people that left the most lasting impact. Chewy showed us the power of embracing one's identity, no matter how complicated or misunderstood it may be. Through his social media presence, he built a community that transcended mere fandom. It became a space for self-reflection, inspiration, and shared experiences. While the mystery of his heritage may never be fully answered, what remains clear is the profound effect Chewy had on the world. His legacy lives on through the countless lives he touched. We invite you to share your thoughts, memories, and stories about Chewy Thompson in the comments below. Let's come together to honor his legacy, celebrate his journey, and remember the unique place he holds in popular culture.